I've seen a couple of lumps in mine too, but I think it's my chair being loud. I'm going to have to figure out if I can oil this chair.
What if the chair tries to oil you?
It probably will.
Ooh.
Spooky.
You could put that up on like OnlyFans or something.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oily fans?
Chair oils master.
I'll get my webcam recording.
Hey, I'm Joe.
I'm Ken.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Dan.
And we're the Rewinders Podcast, rewinding movies to see if they hold up. And this time, we took out the meat cleavers and chased each other through the ballroom, trying to hack each other's limbs off in a game of childhood, chop each other apart fun that was Addams Family.
I was going to say, are you making a reference to Squid Game? Are we Squid Gaming?
I still haven't seen that, and I kind of don't want to.
No, we can't reference things that aren't from the 90s or 80s or 70s or 60s or 50s or 40s, maybe 30s. I'll allow 30s if we
But
can
it's
find
Squid
one.
Game.
Wait, you'll allow
Yeah, it's...
Did we do
so
Murder
far,
by
it's
Death?
good.
Death by murder.
We did that other one. Clue.
Well, it came out before Clue, and I think it's better than Clue, but that's fine.
Well, look at Dan.
Wow. Big words for a big man. His big chair, eating his big foods.
I don't have a large chair. I have a small chair.
Foods.
Small chair for a big man.
Exactly.
A weird song for the smallest among us.
What a monster. Anyways, yeah, we watched that family movie.
Yeah, it's spooky month. Spooktober. Ochfrightfertober. Chilltober.
I thought Christmas month was the freaky month, the scary month, because that's the month that you have to figure out exactly what everybody else wants and stress over how it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
This month, you just throw candy at kids and make them run away. That's not scary.
Oh, wait. I throw kids at candy. Am I doing this wrong? Am I doing this backwards?
Oh, God.
No, there's enough give and air and candy, unless you're throwing them at like a pile of nerds, in which case, actually, that might be fun.
Ken, you just made me nervous. Did you just say Aryan candy?
Airheads candy.
Okay.
I did not say
Okay,
Aryan
good.
candy.
Good. I'm just making sure.
I'm throwing them at the colors of the rainbow.
Colors of the reindeer?
Again, spooky. Fat man creeping into your house, trying to sneak things into your house. You don't know what they are. That's creepy.
He's trying to sneak kisses and tickles.
Bordering on Nightmare Before Christmas now.
Oh, God.
Now, especially if you live in an airport, you don't want someone sneaking in and leaving things for you, because then you have to go to TSA and being like, oh my God, I don't know where that came from. And then who knows what happens then.
I mean, you go in the back room and they ask you questions. Your best bet is to yes and.
It's an improv game.
Did you know you have this knife in your bag? Yes, and. Oh, wait.
Do you hate America? Yes. And I am working
Sir, are you
for
carrying
Canada.
a bomb? Yes, and I got knives, too.
Sorry.
Oh, this isn't working in our favor. Kids always yes and. Oh, God, that's a horrible thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
God, immediately after saying it.
It just feels bad rolling off the tongue. But anyways, we did not watch the new 2021 or 2020 Addams Family, did we?
No, we didn't.
I did not.
I didn't know those even existed until I started seeing the ad for the one that apparently just came out.
I didn't know there was a second one.
Don't do it.
All of a sudden I heard people going to it, and it's like, oh, I remember there was a first.
Katie and I watched the first one when it came out because it was one of those, like, streamable right-away movies last year.
Yeah.
It's soulless and boring and slow and cumbersome.
Ooh, that's kind of all the words I would choose to describe this one.
I
And
disagree.
you're jumping to the end of the podcast, talking about reboots.
Yes. So I guess,
So I remember, I guess, wasn't there a cartoon of this?
There
yes,
was.
and that's
when we were younger.
That's why they made
I
this.
swear I watched that cartoon, and that's like the amount of that cartoon being crazy violent and stuff. Like, I think that's what steered my parents away from actually letting us watch this one as a child. And honestly, part of that, this movie probably would have scarred me pretty hard as a kid because I was a very impressionable.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
So that was the only thing that I have going for me knowing about this growing up. I just watched this week for the first time in my life.
Yeah, no, they wanted to make a movie based off the cartoons because they thought the cartoons were great and silly and they were pretty well received. That's kind of where the whole thing kind of kicked off. They wanted to try to make a movie based off that versus off the original 60s series. And I think Orion was originally the one who produced it. This movie, I guess, I was wondering what happened because I had to dig into it to try to figure things out. And I guess it had a pretty fabled, troubled history. Multiple people got sick, including the director's wife during filming. It's just like so many things kept happening. It started with Orion, then it went $5 million over budget. So Orion sold the rights off to Paramount to finish it because they were worried it was going to be a flop, and they apparently just had a few flops already, so they were worried about going under. And then, of course, it was a massive hit. So this movie just feels like it was destined to be doomed, but somehow managed to actually make it forward a little bit. I don't know. But I thought that was pretty crazy. It was... based off the cartoon, because I don't really remember the cartoon too much. I think I saw like an episode or two.
I remember bits and pieces of the cartoon, and like this movie, I have very small memories of certain scenes, so I must have seen it at least once. But its sequel is the one that I have much larger memories of.
See, I'm the exact opposite. I remember always seeing advertisements for the sequel. The sequel was plastered everywhere. It was always the camp scenes before every single movie. It was a trailer before VHSs that I put in. I never saw it. I just never saw a sequel. And I guess, ironically, the original that we just watched made like 6 times, 7 times its budget, whereas the sequel was better received for having a more, coherent plot and everything. People actually liked it. Critics reviewed it more favorably, but I think it only managed to make like $1 million over its budget. So it did not go well. But yeah, I guess for me, it was my parents were obsessed with the Addams Family. They were super excited that there was a movie coming out, so they ushered us to the theater to see it. We liked it. I watched the 60s version a lot as a kid.
Me as well.
We bought this as the $5 add-on to a McDonald's meal. I remember going to McDonald's all excitedly and getting the VHS with my family. And yeah, it was a regular Halloween viewing. And same as you, Dan, I don't remember a lot, even though I had seen this movie so many times. I'll get more into that later, but there's some scenes that definitely stuck out. For sure.
Did they, when they gave you the movie, did they like put a little VCR-shaped box underneath your Happy Meal box?
No.
Like just build a VCR into there so they could shove the tape in there and hand it?
It was the tape in its cardboard sleeve.
Yeah, it was literally just a VHS. They just like bought bulk of VHS sometimes and then sold them with meals.
That's so boring.
I know. I can't remember all the ones my parents bought, but they bought a few VHS that way. Yep. It was always like, let's go to McDonald's and have dinner. Okay, now we're buying a movie and taking it home.
I have no memory of McDonald's ever selling VHS tapes.
Same.
They had all the McDonald's like animated tapes. They had those, like Scared Silly and whatnot. They also sold the Backstreet Boys or was it NSYNC and Britney Spears ones that they had. But yeah, they had other random movies that they just tacked on. Like for a while there, it was like, oh, come to McDonald's and buy a VHS with your meal.
I don't remember them advertising that.
See, we had one just down the street, so like that was where we went. They had tons of movies that they sold, and it ramped from like 5 up to like 8 or so. It was all over the place.
Looks like there was a total of 22 between 83 and 2003.
Isn't that just crazy? Going to McDonald's to get a burger and a movie?
You got Mr. Mom, Puff the Magic Dragon, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, Babes in Toyland, Dances with Wolves, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, The Addams Family, Charlotte's Web, Ghost, Wayne's World, An American Tale, Fievel Goes West, Back to the Future, Field of Dreams, The Land Before Time, and then the rest of them are Ronald McDonald animated series.
I sent over a picture in the chat.
Yep, I remember seeing a couple, at least the Raiders one. I remember seeing that on TV.
Yeah, like we bought a few. I just can't remember which ones we got, but the only differentiator is on the back of the VHS, which I just sent a picture over of. They had a McDonald's logo in the upper right that said purchased at McDonald's, not for rental or resale. It's weird. It's like an entire like piece of history is just like gone. Buying movies from a fast food restaurant.
Probably for the better.
It's probably for the better, yeah.
I don't want grease on my DVDs or Blu-rays.
Right?
It makes them run better. You don't get your squeaks from a VCR.
But you don't want to get a digital copy with Jojo Rabbit with your chicken McNuggets or.
That sounds delicious right now. I should have had breakfast.
Jojo Rabbit for kids? Some of those movies were a little bit weird for putting into kids' movies, but...
Like Ghost?
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels?
Rotten Scoundrels, yeah. Or Raiders, let's go with Raiders. Melting Nazi heads.
That's fine.
Like a cheese over a burger.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
That's great. How about you, Joe?
I believe I watched this with my parents because my dad would always be interested in movies. Stepping back further, I was a big fan of the black and white TV show that I watched in syndication a lot of the time, and that was probably one of my interest levels in the movie, but it wasn't that big because at the time it was coming out, my age and how I felt at that time, I didn't really jive with the family aspect of the movie, but I thought it was interesting. I believe I just watched it once, and I think this week was the second time I've watched the film in its entirety. I just thought I felt like I was too mature for it at the time because I was one of those kids that was too serious about movies, I guess.
Wow. Snobbing against the Addams Family, okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Meanwhile, Joe's sitting in his room watching freaking Chopping Mall.
I'm on board.
Indeed.
I encourage this development.
I'm on board too, yeah.
At some point after this, I kind of got a little crush on Christina Ricci after this, but not because of this movie. I kept watching going, did I see this before I got a crush on her? Because that feels weird.
I must have been 10 or 12, and this, the second Addams Family, and Casper, I'm pretty sure she was my first, famous person crush.
I forgot about Casper, yeah. I had funny feelings towards her in Casper.
This makes sense to me.
I never saw Casper.
It has Bill Pullman!
If he's too cool for Addams Family,
yeah,
he's too cool for Casper.
I guess so. I always watched that in Independence Day, and I'm like, wow, what a stark difference.
I was going to say, is this the Bill that's hunting aliens or the Bill that's giving speeches? Oh, crap, I'm going down this wormhole again.
Or the Bill that goes into tornadoes.
Anyway, yeah, I was too cool for school when this first came out. Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
As to her specifically in this movie, there's some things I really liked about what she was doing with this. Like, you could watch this and be like, oh, she's just a mono person, like, the entire time. She wasn't all that great. But that's not true. Two very specific things that I noticed in this movie that really set her off as being really good in this movie. The first one was when the first time that you notice that she smiles when she's going to electrocute Pugsley.
Yep.
He's like, that really brought her character great joy. And the second thing that was interesting was when they were in the motel and they're all sitting down talking about the tortoise and the hare. She goes to take a bite of the cereal. She takes a bite and she looks at it like she's disgusted by it because the cereal is, too sweet for what she's used to.
Yeah, I loved that. I caught that this time around too.
There's so many little details like that in this movie.
One big one that I was going to call off. So random happenstance, I was watching YouTube videos after we got done recording Tremors, and I stumbled across, I don't know why this came up in my feed, but it was a video. I can't remember who it was. I wish I would have copied it down. You know how it goes. It was just in my feed and I just watched it and moved on, but it was movies with the best payoffs, and I was like, oh, that's funny, we just talked about that, and I pressed play, and what did they start talking about right away? The best example of movie payoffs is Tremors, and it's one we didn't even talk about. It was the soda cooler.
Oh, right, yeah.
It was the soda cooler being directly responsible for his death, because they basically just tell him no at the beginning of the movie when it's blowing its bearing, and he thinks it's a bearing, and they said no, they're not going to take a job because they got to leave, and they're trying to get out of town. And then later on, without even thinking about it, without even bringing it up again, all of a sudden it just pops again because, oh yeah, that's that thing that happened at the beginning of the movie, and that's directly responsible for him dying. That was cool, and I was watching that and I was like, that's really neat. And then I really paid attention to this movie to see if I could find anything, and man, the tar on the front doorsteps of the house. What a throwaway thing in the beginning of the movie where the carolers are at the house and they dump the pot, and there's nothing that comes out of the pot. You don't even think anything of it because it just goes right into credits and they start talking about the movie, right? But later on, 3/4 into the movie, the first time you see the outside of the house, there's freaking tar all over the stoop.
All over the stoop.
And all over the wall.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I loved that.
Didn't see that.
I loved that.
It's so well hidden.
So
it was great.
You would have noticed because it just looks like paint. It looks like they started painting and kind of gave up. So if you didn't catch that's what they were pouring on those carolers, you wouldn't have had any idea.
And that's what I thought when I first saw it. I was like, that looks like scorch marks. What blew up? Oh my god, that's the tar. And I got all excited. I'm like, because they wouldn't clean it up. Why would they?
And for those of you who have not seen this movie, a quick summation of it is you have a perfect family. It's true. The Addams Family is the perfect family. And they operate on their own wavelength against the grain of the entire, we'll say, community that surrounds them.
All of society. Not just community. All of society. They have their own rules.
Mm-hmm. Well, we focus on the community around them.
Mostly the judge.
The man of the house,
Gomez,
thank you. I kept wanting to say Cecil,
What
but no. Gomez. Don't ask. I don't know.
Cecil Baldwin, not Welcome to Night Vale?
Oh, maybe. His brother has gone missing. His brother is Fester, and there's his empty room, and they pine for him. And Gomez's lawyer, who takes care of his monthly finances as well, is greedy and wants in on their money. And one scheme that he comes up with is meeting this doctor who has a son that he thinks looks exactly like Fester. And so they want to pass off this guy as the real Fester and use that as a way to get money out of the Addams family. Through the process of incorporation of the fake Fester into the family, the fake Fester, through time, spoilers, learns that he really likes the family to start with, and then to end with, yeah, he is Fester. And what we thought was a story was reality of how this lady found him, and they shed all the bad people at the end of the movie, and all the good people stick around at the end of the movie, and it's all happy, and we get reconfirmed that they're a good, healthy, wholesome family at the end.
Now, let me bring this up to you guys. So, the movie ends on that happy note where we find out Fester is Fester, but apparently the original intent was for it to be ambiguous. I guess the rest of the cast persuaded Christina Ricci to go and plead the case to let Fester be Fester at the end of the film and make it obvious that's Fester so the family could end off happy, versus leaving it unknown.
That's smart.
I don't know which one I like more.
It's smart to make Christina Ricci do the talking.
Yeah.
Let's have the cute little girl do it.
I like both halves of this. I like having it eventually be Fester in the end and having, it just, be a heartwarming ending, but I also love the idea of not really knowing whether or not it really was Fester the whole time, or if he just succumbed to the happiness of the family and became part of it. It's just
because they were so accepting of the fact that he was possibly a mass murderer.
Yeah.
Well, too, it would be also a very, I'll say, kind of like wholesome thing that a family would say, we don't care if you're Fester or not. You are now Fester, and you are...
Exactly, and that's where I kind of struggle, because, I like that. I kind of like the more cerebral ending to it versus it just being a good old happy family reconnected at the end, but I like both sides. I like knowing that was the original intent, so at least we have that to go off of and think about.
I figure this is going to be pretty straightforward. What do you guys like about this movie?
I like that I didn't know it was a Barry Sonnenfeld film. It starts up, I'm like, this feels like a movie I've seen. I'm like, wait, that's the director of Men in Black. Now I understand why the movie feels this way.
Oh.
Now everything makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Sure,
exactly. Because even the text, how Carpenter has that, John Carpenter has that specific
font,
that text stylization, that font that he uses for all his movies. Yeah, there's only 2 movies he doesn't use it in. But he has that specific font. Barry's got the same font in this movie and in Men in Black that I noticed. It's like that really thin, wispy, kind of wiggly white letters.
The words are stacked on top of each other, and the top words have the
yes.
real tall.
Yes.
Oh, there's a word for in font design. I can't remember what it is, but the word it's very tall, and then the words below it are a little scrunched down and blocky,
flattened by the upper words.
I'll start off with the good thing about this movie as well after Andy here, and say that the casting was pretty much spot on.
Damn, Angelica Houston and Raw. I mean, rest in peace. He went way too soon. I feel like he was really hitting his stride when he went. What was his last movie? I want to say it was actually Street Fighter.
Street Fighter.
It was Street Fighter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I know that guy from.
Yeah. He's a great actor. He was a really great actor. I think he was absolutely perfect for the manic role of Gomez. And then, like I said, Angelica Houston was just unbelievably good as Morticia.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Christopher Lloyd as
Fester.
ambiguous
Fester/Gordon.
Fester was also amazing.
Yeah.
The entire movie was really, really well cast. I'm super happy with every single character in this movie.
It had that like typical I don't know what words I'm searching for, but it had the stylization of the characters looked a lot like a Tim Burton movie. Like, and that's kind of ironic because it was supposed to originally be Tim Burton that directed this, but he was too busy doing Batman Returns at the time. So it went on to Barry. So it's got a Tim Burton feel for not being a Tim Burton movie. I mean, it's got a lot going on. Every time I saw Fester in the window of the house, like looking out, hunched over, a little dark shadow, a little dark illumination of him up in a window, it had that really cool feel. I loved seeing that, and yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, he was Fester, and it was great seeing him in this role.
And even the people who didn't play an Addams Family member, I thought they were all well cast too for being either sleazy or for being kind of like a nerd. You know, they weren't all uniform. And the extended Addams Family people, interesting to look at, even if none of them talked. It was well done on cast and development of side and tertiary characters.
Heck yeah.
I love the judge.
Even the Jurassic Park kid.
The Jurassic Park kid. You cannot mistake those blue eyes.
Nope.
Yep. Those eyes are very distinctive. And I like that they call him a lizard. I mean, he was bound to be in Jurassic Park, being angry at dinosaurs.
Doesn't sound very scary. It sounds like a 6-foot turkey. Yeah, that's... Good kid. Good kid.
The movie, movie made me feel happy.
Good. Yeah.
On the same note, so we brought up the cartoon earlier, and what I like about this movie versus what I remember about the cartoon is I remember the cartoon being Wednesday Addams being just constantly trying to mutilate and whatever Pugsley. Like, Pugsley was always the victim in the cartoon.
Yeah.
And I like that Pugsley got to have his own in this one. Like, they shared off in the torture.
Yeah, no, for sure. That was great.
It was something that deviated from the original TV series. The kids were much more muted in their mutilation of each other. Like the original TV series, not the comic, not the animated series.
I feel like they gave the kids a lot more time to shine in this movie. Yeah, the 60s series was definitely more about Morticia and Gomez and Fester. Fester for sure. Fester was like the
And Lurch.
And Lurch, yes, Lurch. Which, anybody catch Lurch? I believe, and I'm going to double check this before I say anything, but that is absolutely the same guy. Yes, okay. That is the same guy who is in Men in Black, who goes and meets, what's his name, at the diner.
Yeah.
To get, the galaxies on Orion's belt. The big tall dude.
Is he the bodyguard or the actual guy?
He's the bodyguard.
The bodyguard who's going to get... Yeah, yep. And then he's also in Twin Peaks as the Giant, if you've ever seen that series.
Huh. I had no idea.
Yeah, I know I'd seen his face around a few times, so I had to look him up.
And one that I recognize now that I'm looking him up myself, he's in Ewoks Battle... No, just kidding, I've never seen that movie.
Don't you dare.
The Dr. Sleep. He's in Dr. Sleep.
Oh, crap, he is in Dr. Sleep. I love that movie. Yes, he is.
Yeah, it's a really good movie, and now that I reckon, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, he was really good in that role too.
I was just about to look him up to make sure he's still around, and yeah, I forgot he was in Dr. Sleep. I freaking love that movie. He's one of the first ones that goes, isn't he? Like, they all gather around him as he's running out of life force or whatever. Yeah, damn. Oh, that's a good movie. Anyways, I have a lot of praise for the house design. I mean, the design of the house is phenomenal.
Yep.
Everything, every single set is just oozing personality.
And it feels so bizarre on the inside. Like, when things are running around the house, and he's just making left and right turns, like, how is this house even set up? It just... everything feels chaotic in that house.
It does. Like, how does he know where he's going? And he's always right where he needs to be, right when... I just don't understand. It's like, he's there to catch Gomez's sword in one take, and then he's down in the kitchen talking to him, or pointing out ingredients for something in a meal for the next scene. It's just like... He's pointing out
the finger trap.
That's what it was, the finger trap, yeah. It's just like, he's in between rooms and floors of the house so quickly. It's pretty awesome watching him.
Well, there's that whole thing that Thing is a specter, and he's just very corporeal.
Oh, is that...
It was almost distracting trying to figure out how they filmed Thing.
It was.
Like, did they have somebody on a cart pushing around or something like that?
There's an extra in Addams Family Values where they break down how they filmed Thing. Oh, God, now I gotta find it.
There's a lot of scenes where you can see things.
I didn't watch Family Values because I didn't want to get the two confused.
Yeah, there's a lot of scenes, like the scene where Thing's trying to get Gomez in the hotel to go rescue Morticia. At first, it looks great, because you can see the flap, you can see the side of the wrist. And it's like, oh, wow, that isn't somebody just sticking their hand through a table. But then they cut the angle around, and it's clearly a hand in a table. It's just like a flip back and forth. But yeah, there's definitely some ghosting effects on the wrist throughout the movie, so it was pretty well done. You could definitely see it a few times, but it still holds up really well. I think for me, the only scene that I'm going to talk about later on, there's only one scene that really doesn't still hold up. But again, this is amazing considering it was 91. I mean, this is 2 years before we got Jurassic Park and the change of special effects forever, so.
Yeah, considering it's 1991, thing looks great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He even has, like, reflections, and they do a good job with matching his lighting to the environment. It's good job all around. It's just the time doesn't allow for perfect hand jobs.
Oh, no.
There's really no way to get around that in this context.
Coming off of that conversation and thing, can I just say, okay, so I have issues with the pacing and the plot of this movie, so I'll get to that later, but in terms of my favorite scenes, that whole scene with Gomez just letting himself go in the hotel, I forgot all about that, and it's honestly probably my favorite part of the movie. It's like seeing this character that you know how they're supposed to look and how they're supposed to act, completely the opposite for just a brief period of time. He's got his shirt undone, he's all fucking disheveled and gnarly, covered in like Cheetos dust and crap. He's just eating chips and whatnot. Like, it's just... I love how miserable he looks at the hotel. I love that whole hotel sequence with him.
I think they nailed the vibe in this movie correctly. That you get the feelings of where they are and how everyone is feeling in each environment, from the Addams Family home to the school recital to the motel that they are stuck in temporarily, that the vibe is locked in and you can understand what that vibe is very clearly by how things are portrayed on the screen. I like that. I think they did a great job.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. And back to
Since you brought up that play.
Yeah, that play. That was a recessed memory I had completely forgotten about. When that scene started up and Fester threw the arm to Pugsley before they took off, immediately I had a grin on my face and I was thinking back, I'm like, oh my god, I forgot this was in this movie. And I knew exactly what was coming. I was so on edge, just excited to see it. That's still hands down one of my favorite scenes.
The cut to the audience just covered in stage blood.
Yep, the judge just trying desperately to wipe it off his face before getting hit with another round. It's just... oh, it's so good.
As an adult, I love this scene, and like everyone's just like frozen in place. Mm-hmm. Whatever they were doing, they're just like frozen. And the Addams Family stand up and applaud. I love the support that this family gives to each other.
Yeah,
in these sort of things. But that scene would have definitely scarred me as a child. Would have been at least one lost night's sleep.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it's so well done. And like when she gets her neck slit, like
yeah,
it looks so good. I was not expecting that to happen.
They pulled off Ninja Scroll bloodletting before Ninja Scroll.
I was watching the scene intently, thinking to myself, how close this came to rivaling Dead Alive's on-screen blood count. Because I know that still holds the record for having the most fake blood in any scene, in any movie. So it's got to come close, but it still doesn't even reach those lofty heights, I think.
Even more than Kill Bill?
Yes. Yeah, there's a whole room with people, and he's got a lawnmower that he's just circling around, slicing them all up. You do the math. It's a lot of It's a lot of gallons and gallons and gallons of fake blood.
That sounds amazing.
It's a pretty mediocre movie, but it is it's fun to watch. Oh man. Okay, I take it back. In 2013, the reboot, not remake, but reboot of The Evil Dead actually broke the record finally. And I think about it now, and it's like, yep, they had that whole scene at the end where it's literally raining blood. And I forgot about that.
I haven't seen that reboot yet.
It's very good. It's still in universe. It's one of those ones that's in universe, has ties to the original. It makes you feel all warm and gooey because it actually is part of the originals. It's not a, ham-fisted, shoehorned reboot or remake just to try to keep the license alive, I guess. They had big plans for it, but then of course Ash vs. the Evil Dead kicked off. But then after that show got canceled, people are still hoping that it kind of comes back in some way.
Campbell said he'd do it if he could get people to pay.
Yeah.
Back to this movie, I feel it's nearly timeless. That it makes a few small choices that lock it into the early 90s, but other than those few small moments, This is a timeless film.
Yeah.
I could probably agree with you on that.
Yeah, no, I never once felt like it was 90s and never once felt like it was... I mean, you take that Tombstone ad out of the picture and we're good.
And you take out MC Hammer doing the end.
The awkward
song.
music choices for this film, I didn't quite enjoy. We'll get into that later, but outside of the music and outside of like one or two ad placements, it really, it doesn't age tremendously. It really looks like it could be at any time. Even the vehicles, like it doesn't really put a lot of emphasis on vehicles. There's the scene where things running down the street, but it's not like overbearing in what decade this takes place in or what time frame. So good choices all around.
Right, on the same note, yeah, it's like not only do they not put things in it that kind of age the movie, but like even we were talking about it already, but the effects actually hold up really well. The vines going up the lady when she's being sucked into the house looked really good, and even the Viper clarinet or saxophone, whatever it's supposed to be, I thought that looked really cool. I sat there for a little while trying to figure out where the mechanism to get that snake moving was, but they moved on, so I moved on as well.
I guess according to that scene too, I read on that the Mamushka scene was actually supposed to be longer and was longer, but according to negative audience feedback, they decided to bring that down a little bit.
I'm glad they did, because it was about the right length.
Yeah, like it felt like it was about to outstay its welcome.
Absolutely. And it'd be weird if that wasn't the real Fester and he got through the entire Mamushka scene without having some latent knowledge of that thing.
The tradition of the dance.
Yeah.
Well, with that, what are some of the things that don't work so well for you in this
Pacing.
film?
My God, the pacing.
What's wrong with the pacing?
I'm gonna side with Ken on this one. I'm not sure where you're going on the pacing of this film. It feels like it goes along at a good clip. It slows a bit after Miss Bad Doctor Lady steals the house from them.
It does. For me, it's the pacing and it's the plot in general. There's just a lot that goes against the flow of this movie, in my opinion. I love the characters. I absolutely love the cinematography, the set design, everything about it. I don't like the initial core plot, and I also just don't like the way that the movie feels pace-wise. It slogs so much. It keeps jumping from thing to thing. It never really seems to have a straight narrative. It just keeps bouncing from thing to thing to thing to thing. And then around the middle point is, for me, it started to drag. I thought I was making decent headway through the film, and I paused it only to realize that it's almost a 2-hour film. And I've still got like an hour plus left. I'm like, holy crap, are you kidding me? There's scenes that work, there's scenes for me that didn't work. But overall, I just kind of felt like there were parts of the film that felt pretty hacked or pretty chopped. It's like when they went to go try to find Wednesday when she went missing. It's like that was a whole other thing they had to throw on. It's like when they got to the point where they're kicked out of the house. It's a whole other thing thrown on. For me, that point of the movie felt like Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight, where you've already had 2 hours roughly of this amazing movie. You finally hit this climax, and you got the Joker hanging off the building. But no, there's still like another 30 minutes to 45 minutes of the movie left.
You gotta finish the Two-Face line.
I know. And it kind of felt that way with this one. It's just like, it kept getting to the points where you think logically it would start to wind up, and it didn't. It just kept going at a crazy pace where they just had to keep shoehorning more in. And I guess, according to what I read, the problem with that is obviously, like I said, multiple people got sick during filming, including Barry's wife. So they had kind of a weird schedule with that. They had multiple reshoots, multiple rewrites, all kinds of stuff going on with this movie. So it was, I guess, a pretty fabled, pretty well-known development issue on this film. It's just, I don't know what it is specifically for me. The movie just seems to absolutely drag, and by the time it ended, I could not believe how much time had passed. I liked the stuff I was watching. It was cool, it was fun, but it was just, it felt like it was packaged up in this terribly slow-moving vehicle that I couldn't ever really kind of engage with.
And now that you say that, I understand where you're coming from. It feels like those movies that feel like sketches versus a cohesive plot. It's like they have this plot of Fester to tie in together the various ways that Morticia and Gomez are going to bone, and the various ways the kids are going to torture each other.
And that's really what it comes down to. I fully feel like this movie has amazing scenes. It's just the way they're cobbled together is for me, it's a little jarring. I don't know how to pinpoint it. It's just, it doesn't seem to really flow well between each scene.
But for me, I watched this movie twice this week, and I didn't realize that it was 2 hours. It's only 99 minutes.
It's only an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's like, when I paused it, it said 1 hour and 36 or something like that. It's closing the gap into the 2 hours is what I was saying. It's close to 2 hours. It's closer to 2 hours with the extra 6 minutes.
And I know what you're saying when they leave the house to find Wednesday. At that point, I'm like, oh, this is a contrived moment to get all of them out of the house. Cool. It doesn't feel natural within the context of the film. And the ending feels very tacked on with them getting kicked out of the house. But I think the series of vignettes before that work pretty well off of each other and don't cause a jarring effect. It's that last few, we'll call them scenes or vignettes, that just feel more jarring because they're tidying up the story and getting to the point, and it's not exactly flowing in the same fashion.
Way to put it in words, Joe. That's exactly how I was feeling.
I guess I just didn't notice. I was having too much of a good time.
Oh, I was having a great time.
There you
But,
go. That's all that matters.
When it got to that Wednesday Addams scene, just felt weird to me. It was a weird spot, but maybe it was just because it came off the madness of Mamushka and
Cousin It
Wednesday.
and everything else.
You knew Wednesday ran away, but all of a sudden it's like, oh, she didn't actually go to try to find somebody. Be like, I caught them. Like, it was weird that she went to go sleep in a morgue. But then again,
but it's Wednesday.
it's Wednesday. It's a weird family,
but a very wholesome family.
Oddly so.
Let's consider the fact that this was a series. When did it originally launch? Was that the 60s?
It was the 60s.
And the animated series was the early 80s.
So the black and white, the original concept is that there is a healthy, well-adjusted family unit that loves each other and gets along, and no one hates anyone in the family. No one has any ill intent, but it doesn't fall into that nuclear family, however you say that word. And it's not that conservative viewpoint of what family needs to absolutely be in America to be a good family. It's designed to turn that whole aesthetic of the good, wholesome American family on its head and say, no, these are good, wholesome American families too. And I think it still works.
No, absolutely.
That's what the 2000 reboots are lacking.
No, this movie is what? 20 years old, and it still works.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You got things like Leave It to Beaver and crap like that. Like, it definitely absolutely turns that whole thing on its head, like you're saying. It's just, it's a completely different way to look at it. And in a lot of ways, this family is closer and has a better bond than some of those perfectly portrayed families of the 50s and 60s. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, there were two different cartoons.
There were two?
There was a 1973 cartoon and then 1992, which is the one I would watch. 92, 93. They made 2 seasons of that one. Interesting. Sorry.
On the things that I didn't like as much, the 90s creep is what really irks me when I watch this movie. And yeah, the Tombstone ad sticks out, but
it's not bad.
That's not the biggest culprit.
I was really stretching when I said that, because that's one of the only things I could think of. It's not like they had like Pepsi cans.
It's that early 90s hip hop music that they sprinkle in here and there, and it's like, ugh.
Yup.
Talk about a jarring audio addition to the film where it's just like, if you wouldn't have done that.
Isn't it like when Cousin It shows up in his car and it's like playing some music as well too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's definitely gonna age your film. Like I would like, oh yeah, hey, fun, that's fun. But like, if a person who's maybe 12 these days goes to watch this movie, they're like, oh, that's a weird choice of music. Why wouldn't they put Old Town Road in there? I don't know what kids listen to these days.
That would also be a bad choice in my opinion.
You know, there's movies where you know the soundtrack is specifically meant to make you feel like you're in that time period, or even if it wasn't intentional, it's, you know, going into the movie that this movie is from this age and that's, you're okay with that. Whereas this movie, it's like Joe was saying, there's no real staples that are setting it out to be as part of a specific decade, but then you got that music in there and it really takes everything out of it. It's like I sit down to watch Die Hard and I know I'm going in for some 80s cheese joy, and I know that's going to be, you know, awesome songs blaring from DMC and things like that throughout the movie, and it's the 80s. I know what I'm going into. But with the Addams Family, if you sat someone down who had never seen this movie before and had no idea when it was made, I feel like everything would work flawlessly until it got to those couple of snippets where there's just random hip-hop songs. It's just an interesting choice. I don't understand it.
It's yet another thing that people can be like, yeah, when it comes on, when you're trying to get people pumped up for a movie at the time. Like, I have a feeling that a lot of people who make these kind of movies don't feel like they're making movies forever. They're making movies for a certain period of time.
That's a good point. I can agree with you there. I don't think when they were making this movie, they thought of it being a longevity thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's just us looking back with our nice tinted rose-colored glasses and trying to get mad at people who are 30 years in the grave or 20 years in the grave for making something that doesn't fit our standards now. How dare they?
Why isn't Hollywood making art like we want?
Why is everything a sequel?
It's just a machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Hollywood doesn't make art, it's all copy and paste.
They just want money. Well, duh.
Hollywood hasn't made art since Gone with the Wind.
Oh, calm down there.
I did watch something, or I did read something recently, and it was, there has been a very massive drought of fresh, original ideas that really don't have anything else to lend to, and I think one of the more notable ones that I remember seeing was Baby Driver. Baby Driver was like one of the few exceptions where it's a fantastic movie that stands on its own, that doesn't have any ties, it's completely fresh, completely original, kind of turns the whole concept and the whole kind of cliche on its head. It's definitely one of those that I know. It's I don't know. There's other movies that kind of fit that vein as well too. But yeah, it is pretty much a land of sequels and a land of franchises at this point.
Original ideas don't make money.
And I did actually listen to a podcast about that. I can't remember who was explaining it. I think it might have been Matt Damon, but it was something along the lines of, because the movies with superheroes and everything else are doing so well, and because those giant big tentpole franchises and sequels are doing so well, they basically only fund one of two things nowadays, and it's either very low budget movies or extremely high budget movies. They don't really fund anything mid-range anymore. So things like Tremors, which was like 70 million or something like that, or that wouldn't be made today, and it's not being made today. They stopped making mid-range movies just because they want to have the biggest return possible, because it is literally about money now. They don't care about anything else. They want a giant return, and that's what they're basically focusing their sights on. And if they can't get a giant return, they want to take a very small chance on a movie and just, here's $1 million, here's $2 million, go nuts. And that's why we're in such a drought of having really good middling movies that might not be massive tentpoles or might not be, the best movie ever made, but still they're entertaining. There's been a drought of those films, and that's why.
There's some out there. Not all of them are Hollywood made.
Yeah,
that's why I think there's a big shift to foreign films right
sure.
now. Like you're talking about Squid Game.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God Southeast Asian production is being recognized again.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we just came off of that other film.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Parasite.
Parasite was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I love that film.
That part of the world needs more attention in filmmaking and stuff like that. And maybe we'll start getting it as the United States film production just corrodes itself with superhero films and
reboots.
But like a movie like Lamb, no one would make that here. No one. And if you haven't seen the trailer for Lamb or The Lamb, some weird messed up stuff. It looks entertaining.
If you want original content, go to the streaming services, because that's where you're getting the Squid Games and the I'm Not Okay With This and the Stranger Things, which I guess isn't original anymore, but I mean, you're getting more of the original ideas, and they're coming out as like TV series, but like even Bird Box, and like they're putting out at least one or two movies and then just dropping them and trying to start with something new, because they have the release schedules that can work that way. And so it's kind of nice that we have the streaming services trying to set themselves off, trying to get you to join them, because that's where you're getting your original content from. Otherwise, we're just stuck with movies, theaters that are either reboots or trying to sell a product, like the knockoff Lego movie Play something or another that came out a couple years ago.
Playmobil. There was a Playmobil movie?
Yeah,
I believe.
Oh man.
Yeah, it went. I don't think it did well, or it may not have been released yet.
It didn't do well. No, it was before.
Oh God,
it was 2019, I believe.
It was. Oh crap! Last movie I remember seeing in theaters before everything went down was not Sonic like I thought. It was Onward.
Oh, I didn't see Onward in theaters. I watched that at home.
I saw that on streaming services.
I enjoyed it.
That was a good movie.
I've seen the Roadrunner since the pandemic, but there was only like 2 other people in the theater with me.
Yeah, I've really wanted to see a few things that have come out recently, like Venom, and I know Ghostbusters is coming up, Dune as well. So there's some things that are inching up to try to get me back.
I say, it might tempt me out of my cage.
Same here. And I know there's another film, I can't remember what it is.
It wasn't Resident Evil, was it?
Oh no, but have you seen the trailer for that? That is so freaking good looking. For those who weren't aware, they remade Resident Evil to follow the video games. So this movie is like shot for shot. The Spencer Mansion, Star's team going in, taking a look for survivors and stuff like that, alongside Resident Evil 2 happening at the same time. So you have Leon and Claire and everything else going on too.
Are they just going to do an actual play of the video game in the theater?
It feels that way, and I'm really excited.
Was it Antlers?
Antlers, thank you. Antlers. Antlers looks phenomenal. It's not directed by Del Toro, but it is. He's a producer on it. Antlers looks phenomenal. I saw a brief teaser of that movie, and it just made me instantly want to forget everything and go watch it. It kind of lends a hand in what we were talking about too, because unfortunately it feels like unless you're making a horror movie, or unless you're making like a family drama or a biopic or something like that, just something underhand that's not a flagpole or a sequel of some sort. Those are the movies that are made right now because it's, $4 million. It's $5 million because it's just a horror movie. There you go, kid. Have fun. Knock us out.
Right. And what you're getting with, so Addams Family, even, that wasn't even a really original idea.
No, and they were afraid to make it.
From the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. They kept on redoing Addams Family. They're still redoing Addams Family because it does. Biopics, you have Freddie Mercury to lean on. You have Elton John and Ford and Ferrari, I guess.
That was a good one.
To lean on.
Yeah.
That's what I hear. I
finally sat down to watch it last year. It's good. But yeah, I know what you're saying specifically. Like
the ones that they're giving chances to have history to it.
Yeah. And it's not like it's an original idea like you're saying. It's still that whole notion of a reboot or a remake.
Well, we can do the reboots for Addams Family real quick. They're soulless, they are money grabs, and there's no reason to watch them.
I will say that I respect the hell out of this movie because it definitely resonated with a lot of people, and you can tell. There are a lot of girls who, I don't know what it is about Wednesday, but they identify with her. They have personality traits with her that are similar or something, but you see that in a lot of people. I don't really see a lot of people, idolizing Pugsley or idolizing Gomez, but Wednesday, it seems like that's like a whole thing.
Wednesday and Morticia
for sure, yeah.
Yep.
It's because their opinions are listened to. They have autonomous thought, and they're allowed to have them. They have their own ideas that they want to do, and they're not stopped and told to be something else. They are who they are.
Yes.
And Pugsley doesn't have that issue. He is who he is, and men are allowed to have that, and boys are too. But girls and women tend to be horseshoed into roles that may not be who they are in real life. These two women are excluded from that horseshoe.
Morticia, hands down, as well. Like the scene where Fester grabs the wrong handle and gets flushed outside, and where she goes to meet him, that scene was. I love that scene because you could tell that she's kind of like she's the pin in the family. It's just like she knows what's going on. She can see past the crap. Exactly. She met him exactly where she knew he would be. She said exactly the right words to get under his skin because she knew something was off. It was just a really great scene that really showed her character really well. Yeah, I could definitely see really good role models with. It's just such a. I love how different this feels because. Obviously, just like the Addams Family themselves and just like the actual characters living in the town with the Addams Family, looking from the outside, it looks like such a weird family that you just expect to be completely bonkers insane, but they are such a damn well-rounded family. It's crazy. Every one of them. They're actually people to look up to.
They're so sane, they make the rest of society seem insane.
Yes, exactly. Well said.
When everybody else is dysfunctional, what's more dysfunctional than be functional?
So judging from where you were in your how you viewed this movie before when you watched this to now, for me, like I said, it was around 20 years difference between watching it. Has your opinion shifted about this film?
Seeing as I don't remember, I don't have good memories of this movie. I enjoyed it. I don't think, had it been 20 years, I probably still would have enjoyed it, watching it again. I had a hard time finding things to pick apart other than real little minute things that we already discussed.
I'd say that this movie definitely holds up. I don't have an opinion as a child because I didn't watch it, but as an adult, I certainly enjoyed it. And I don't think the hip-hop takes away from it at all. It just puts it in a different area of time, which is fine. There's plenty of movies that do that. Yeah, I definitely think the movie holds up. Definitely worth watching. I'll probably watch it again. It might become a Halloween movie for me.
So it was a Halloween movie for me as a child, and I can't remember how many years we watched it around spooky season, but it came up frequently. I don't know. I hadn't seen this movie in probably close to 20 years. And I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I didn't hate it. I don't think I won't go back to watch it again. I feel like for me, I know we've been skirting this line for a while now, and I've felt this fear that eventually we would hit a movie that for me would be propped up on the faulty pegs of nostalgia, and it would come tumbling down. And I feel like this is as close as it gets. Like, having not seen this movie probably since I was in grade school, maybe even actually. I don't know what I was expecting going into it. I know this movie from years and years and years of saying, "Oh man, the Addams Family, yeah, I gotta watch that one of these days." Or, "Oh yeah, it's definitely gonna be one of my Halloween movies I'm watching this year." And I feel like this year was finally the year I got a big bowl of popcorn. I was all excited. I was like, I know I love this movie and I can't wait to watch it again. And I kind of left the movie kind of feeling a little deflated because it's not what I remember. And that's not saying it's not good. It's just I feel like there's layers to this, and I feel like I basically blew off the dust. And I'm kind of seeing the inner workings below, and a little bit of that magic's gone now. And it makes me a little sad because I haven't felt that with any of the movies that we watched so far. So I'll probably keep watching it. I like it. I like the characters. I love the cast. It's just the plot for me kind of drags and muddles around. But I think it's definitely going to be something I throw back in.
I didn't care for it when I was younger because I was too cool for school. But now it just makes me chuckle. It's entertaining to me. I would totally be down for being a father of a Wednesday Addams type character. I'd be super proud of a little girl that's a maniac that takes pleasure in, like, not for real, but for fun. I like the vibe of the movie. Sure, it isn't a perfect film, but it's got a good vibe. It's entertaining, and I just need to shut it off before MC Hammer kicks in on the credit sequence, or my wife will slowly and progressively get more angry as it goes on because it's an earworm and she can't get rid of it.
Joey, I think you helped me find the words I was searching for. It's I need to be okay with every movie not being perfect, every movie not being the best movie ever made of that genre. I need to be okay with every movie not being prolific in some way. But I think the nostalgia was a layer encasing this movie that made it feel like it was like the definition of its genre. It was like the perfect movie of this style. So when I sat down to watch it after all these years of not seeing it, I was expecting perfection.
You went in expecting too much. Okay.
While
now I understand your vitriol.
Yes, exactly.
Now I get it.
Exactly. Because I was going into this thinking this is like top tier, grade A, and I remember everything about this movie being perfect. And then actually noticing the faults, it's like, coming back to a car that you've remembered fondly and seeing rust all over the place and seeing the things that you didn't expect, or coming back to, your hometown and seeing, things that weren't as nice as you thought they were when you were growing up. It's like that. It's a good movie, but I held up this lofty feeling of what it probably was, and I only have myself to blame for that. Damn nostalgia. I hate it.
It happens to all of us.
I just hate nostalgia. It's bad, man. This is the first time that's happened in a long, long, long time. I think Neverending Story was the only other time I felt this way. But upon rewatching it this last time with you guys, I liked it more than the time I watched it in my 20s.
Yeah, you'll get that.
I've had that.
And I'm hoping that'll happen with this.
Just wait till you get that with Jurassic Park or Ghostbusters.
Oh, no.
I don't know. I am in the triple digits of Jurassic Park, and I never get sick of that movie. Ghostbusters is probably somewhere in the 30 to 40s range. I prefer watching the second because even though it's almost beat for beat the same exact pace of the first movie, which a lot of people gripe about, I like the underdog coming back story. I don't know. I don't think I'll ever get sick of those two.
But also baby. Ugh.
Yeah, usually when we had this conversation, when you add a baby to a movie, usually that's when things get sour, and that's why I'm surprised you all like Values more, because isn't the new baby in Addams Family Values? Because they hint that at the end.
I was just going to say, I'm looking at the cover thinking, I'm going to watch Values next, but I see a baby. Oh, no.
Yes, exactly.
It's got a little mustache. I don't know how I feel about that.
If I remember.
Oh, God, it has a mustache? Are you kidding me?
Yep, Gomez's mustache.
No. No.
It's a little boss baby.
Considering the first Addams Family movie, would you recommend other people to watch this one today?
Would.
First one?
I would.
Absolutely.
I'm going to assume Andy is a no.
I would say yes. I liked it. I think it's still very important for people to watch this movie because it's got a lot going on for it, especially with the role breaking of traditional female roles. Just there's a lot of good in this movie that still can be absorbed, and if you're a fan of Halloween, the macabre, dark, Tim Burton, it's a great movie. Absolutely great. If you're looking for a perfectly paced movie, no. I would still recommend it though, because it's, like I said, it's a Halloween staple. You have to see it at least.
Well, that was us strapping our siblings to an electric chair and electrocuting them to the movie Addams Family. If you would like, comment, subscribe, all those crazy fun things to do, because then, it gives feedback to us. We'd enjoy some feedback.
Heck yeah.
I don't care. If you say you suck shit, I don't care. Then I'd be like, sweet, someone watched. Or, wait.
Can we ask for input?
Someone
like
listen.
Johnny Five? I want input.
Input.
I mean, we did get a gift from the Tremor Society.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
Trevor.
thanks for the shout out.
Woo! So anyways, also share this shit with your friends and family that also likes 80s and 90s movies, because come on, we're all just one big happy movie family. Let's all just get along. Let's all just sit around and talk about movies.
Yeah, put it on your grandpa's headphones while he's sleeping.
Hey Grandpa, how do you like these movies? Next up, we'll be watching and talking about The Nightmare on Elm Street.
I'm so excited.
So come back in 2 weeks when we rewind again.
Johnny Depp gets blendered. Johnny Depp
Don't.
Oh,
gets
spoilers.
blundered.
Spoilers.
It's so good.